Yo, what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we are going to be talking about, apparently, this massive RSS healing debacle that sparked earlier this morning. First reports on the Discord were coming through at around 12 UTC, and we're going to break this down along with read the recent announcement that was posted on the COD Discord in regarding this situation. What are they doing to address and resolve it? And then I'm going to give you my thoughts on, do we think it's good? Maybe it's not so good. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up, because I've done a lot. Thanks. So what was reported is earlier this morning, there was a RSS healing bug. And from what I had seen from people posting was that it was allowing you basically to do free healing, literally and figuratively free healing. And apparently there was a number of people that took advantage of this during, from what was reported as low as 20 to 30 minutes and what was reported as long as 60 minutes or an hour. Those were most of the reports that I was seeing people stating on the Discord. And I can only imagine when you just take a moment back and you think about, okay, well, what does that mean when you're able to basically do free healing, free healing, where you're not using any resources at all whatsoever? And who knows if there was any other variations of it that popped up outside of what some people had posted. But let's just go down that rabbit hole. Imagine you get wind of it at the very beginning of the first moment you recognize, and you're a top kingdom, you're a top alliance. Are you just going to keep it to yourself? Probably not. There's a very low percentage chance of that happening. And on the contrary, or on the opposite end of that, a very high percentage chance of you then going and telling as many people as you humanly can. Now, what do you think the process is going to be like for that? Okay, so someone finds out in a top kingdom. First thing they're probably going to do is go and immediately tell the R5, right? If it's not an officer or an R5 that is made aware of it, they'll go and tell the R5. They'll tell probably up to all the officers that they can. They're going to try and spread the word as quickly as they can. They'll probably post it in Alliance chat. They'll try and spread the word, right, as wide, cast as wide of a net as humanly possible. And then obviously, if an officer, if a lead, somebody with management permissions, right, who can send a message to everyone, whether that's on the Discord, if it's probably not going to be in a King's mail, probably would be an Alliance mail, in a Discord announcement, probably going to try and get those pings off as fast as humanly possible. And you're going to let people know, hey, go ahead and do this right now. Now, I think the curious part to me is I wish there was a way to go and see, and there probably is, right? For example, if I was to look, like if I was able to pull daily data scans, right? We could easily figure this out by pulling a scan. If we caught wind of it, and let's say we pulled the scan, if I was able to pull daily scans, right, I probably would have been doing this daily after zones open up to a certain point, right? Because there's still action going on. So like, let's say I would have pulled a scan this morning or yesterday at reset, and then I go into today, you're talking around 12 hours afterwards, and then you catch wind of this, you pull another scan, right? Even if I did one earlier, I could see the power spikes between those people who RSS healed a lot and probably took advantage of this based on the amount that they healed in a short amount of time, or the amount of power they regained in a short amount of time. And you could easily figure out, right? It would take some time, be some legwork here, but you could figure out which kingdoms most likely knew about this and how fast they were able to quickly spread the information, and then how many of those people from those alliances and in those kingdoms were able to come online, were able to get the notification, see it, and come online within the time right before a hotfix, right, or a disabling of the healing feature like we know that they did. Okay, so it just, again, that would have been so interesting to me. It's one of the beautiful things I love about data, is that you can see things and you can utilize it right in those ways to kind of figure these things out. Okay, so now let's look at the announcement, right? So we look at the announcement here, which is posted on the Discord, and you could see here that we have abnormal resource healing consumption, right? And here's some of the initial things before we even get to that, right? This was something that I saw Renegade post, which kind of is an outline, right? It said RSS healing was free for about an hour, right? Widely abused by top kingdoms for an hour. Currently, it was offline. Now it's apparently online. Abusers, obviously, there's always going to be some extra editor notes, right? Abusers cried due to the possible fix being the deduction of exploited resources from players' inventories. Okay, so let's go to the announcement now and read. You are just all over the place, kiddo. So let's look at what the announcement says here. So it says abnormal resource healing consumption. Due to a server anomaly, resources were not properly consumed during troop healing. This issue has now been resolved, and the resource healing feature has been re-enabled. You can once again consume resources normally when healing troops. We will complete the follow-up handling within 10 working days. Okay, now here's the important part that I think is why you're seeing essentially 87 clown reactions and 37 bird reactions, if you catch my drift. So, compensation for all lords. All lords will receive a compensation package. Additionally, all lords will receive a package of elixir. Please note, if your account healed troops without consuming resources during the affected period, the system will automatically deduct the corresponding amount of elixir from your compensation. So, at face value, they're basically distributing casting a wide net of resource allocation or allocating to basically anyone that could have been affected by this if you were in a KvK, and I just imagine possibly just game wide. Okay, fair enough. It might be difficult for them to say, I don't want to say difficult. It might be, well, maybe I should say difficult, right? It might be time consuming. That might be a better word to use here, for them to go and look at all the people who did take advantage of it and then issue rewards to everyone that is not those individuals, right? If you're thinking about it from that angle. The other way of looking at this first line is that everyone, including the people who took advantage of this, are going to get a compensation package. Okay. Because you're getting a compensation package and then you're also going to receive a package of elixir. So the people who did, yeah, they took advantage of it, right? It's not to say like these are evil people, but again, right, there was an opportunity for something to be taken advantage of, and lo and behold, what do we expect? What do we not expect? They did, right? For those individuals that did. Okay, but then you get the second package of elixir. Okay, so you're going to get that, but then the people who did abuse it, which is weird to me, because if you're saying that the system will automatically deduct corresponding amount of elixir from your compensation, and they say that if your account healed troops without consuming, meaning they must have a way to track these individuals, why is it that you're giving those individuals who did take advantage a compensation package? Why not state, we will give 2 compensation packages. One of those packages will include elixir, but we will deduct, or you could say people who did take advantage during the bug period will not receive a compensation package, and any elixir they won't receive, as an example, right? Like, why can't you say that? Or why can't you say you'll deduct whatever the amount is from both packages? Why are you only deducting from one package? I guess it feels contradictory to me, right? If I'm looking at this objectively, you're saying that you can do one thing, but you're not doing it on the other side. You're stating that you do have a way to track them, but it just, I don't know, like, I'm curious if you're watching this, are you reading that the way I am? Does it sound as confusing to you as it does to me? Or no, you're like, this sounds perfectly good. BN, you're just cray-cray. Again, I could be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Who knows? Let's go to the second point. Data corrections for exploited gains. For lords who benefited from the abnormality, we will analyze the data and remove any extra items or rewards gained through the issue to maintain fairness and integrity. Okay, so they're saying, like, if there's an event going on, as an example, and you did some healing, or if there's some kind of extra reward you get from doing the healing, etc., right, you'll get some rewards, or if you get some bonuses or whatever it may be, right? They're kind of talking about those. That's how I interpret this. But what they're not saying is that they're going to roll back your account from before the bug period started and then finished, so that way you're back at where you were before you did any free healing, right? For free. So this, I'm going to be honest, objectively speaking, once again, this feels like a massive slap in the face to me. And I think constructively, when you hear something like, because basically what this line is saying is that, and I think I posted this in the Gender, this feels like a sorry, not sorry kind of a statement. And listen, maybe they're limited in some degree. Maybe there's things that we're not familiar with on the back end for what they can or cannot do. But it does suck. I think that's fair to say. It sucks to see that this line is basically saying that the individuals who did take advantage of it and were able to RSS heal are going to be able to keep all those troops and units that they did heal, and they're not going to be removed or reset or rolled back. But any of the extra items or rewards that they gained during healing all those units, which again, who knows how many were done. I mean, you have to really imagine that this could basically massively swing a Zone 2. If you have an alliance that was maybe very close to, this is an example, if you had two kingdoms that were going on in a Zone 2, like a good example, if you look at WB, right? Let's use an in-game example here. So let's say you're looking at this situation with Echo and WB. Let's say WB got wind of this, and they were able to have all their players or a majority of their players RSS heal, and Echo wasn't. They would get a second wind and potentially be able to maybe push Echo back or maybe gain some ground, maybe even win the zone. That regardless if you think it's doable or not, my point is that's the extreme possibility of what could happen for any potential zone where you may have had a fighting chance or it was close to or that of a 50-50. And now because of this advantage, this bug, it could massively swing how a Zone 2 plays out. And therefore could also swing and have snowballing effects for how the Zone 3 plays out once those passes open going from Zone 2 into Zone 3, and therefore could have ramifications for how potentially the final zone of the remainder of the entire KvK plays out. It is one of those things that you almost have to say to yourself, like, it is a little worrisome, right? Now, do we think that this is something that the developers meant to do and they intended? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone would intend or want this to happen, because I can only imagine how sour of a taste that would put in that is now put into the mouths of the people that are spending on the game. It's just not a good look, right? I think that's fair to say. So it sucks when you see something like that happen. Okay, now let's go to the resource and troop counts. Please note that we will not directly adjust individual resources or troop counts in order to avoid disrupting ongoing season and upcoming events. And this is where you basically get the confirmation of them saying that they're not going to do anything about the people who were able to massively increase troops and or keep their resources, right? Because that's the other side of it. If you're not using any resources on RSS healing, then you're basically almost kind of getting a free reset. That's kind of what it is. It's almost like the season ended, you've healed all the way back up, the season's starting again, and for however many people were able to take advantage of it, you basically have been able to like reset your account. It's like taking a full heal potion in Pokemon. That's literally what I could only imagine has happened to a number of people. So it's wild to me. I mean, it flat out sucks, right? I feel for the people, and I can only imagine, and I am curious how you as an individual feel, how you as an alliance feel, even if you're a member of management, like what is the general sentiment going around right now? And even more so, not even just in your KvK, but like, let's say you were in a KvK where you maybe were on the disadvantaged side or you were losing some ground, but now you're gaining ground. How do you feel? Let's say you had gained ground and you had a very clear kind of Zone 2 victory, or things were already going in your favor. Maybe you had momentum, and now all of a sudden, because of this, it's not happening, right? And now it's going the opposite way. Like I can only imagine, and I hope that there's not a lot. That's my point. I think that would probably be the devs' best takeaway in this, is that it wasn't up long enough for there to be any massive KvK swings. Because if there are, then you can only imagine that is going to impact the individuals, the alliances, the management teams, the fighters, the spenders, the kingdoms as a whole, just that much more. So, yeah, it's rough. Now, I saw someone post a comment talking about how maybe the reason they're not doing this is for like the upcoming, I think they said skin event, and how again people need, so they're not like removing any resources, so that way there's an opportunity. Now that I thought that was an interesting take, because I think on one side you could argue that it may make sense. Not that it makes sense where they're not doing it, but if you're lining that up, like I could see that being a reason, you know. Obviously, nothing has officially came out or not, but it is interesting how some people are trying to connect the dots on like why they didn't do that on one end and but did something on the other end. Again, it's all basically theory at this point, and you know, who knows if we will ever really find out why one thing was done or why not. But I will say I think the bigger picture is that we'd like for these things to not happen, and I think we all understand that again things can happen at any point in time, and you know, hopefully as always they're not intended, and they're always accidental or something that just happens right off of pure happenstance. But with that in mind, that's the story. Those are some feedback and some comments. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.